Welcome to Nugget 214 with Steve Groman. And today we have a very special guest. He's been a friend of ours for a number of years, and he worked for the railroad. We want to hear about his adventures.
And he had some, I'm quite sure.
Yeah, quite a lot.
Understatement.
I started in April 14th, 1977. I was pretty much flat broke. I was trying to work 3 jobs, and that wasn't working out. They called me in because I had been putting in applications. They told me, do you want to go to work? I said, yeah.
Who's they?
This was the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad.
Okay, B&O.
B&O.
In Moorfield Yard.
People have seen that in Monopoly.
Yes. Yeah. In Indianapolis, Indiana. I looked at it and said, well, how long is this job going to last? And he says, well, it could last 3 months. It could last 3 years. I don't know. I said, well, how much am I getting paid? And he says, you're getting paid $6.33 an hour. I just signed me up.
All right, that was great in 1977.
Yeah, that was great.
In 1979, I think I was making, $2.83?
Yeah.
Minimum wage.
That was the thing. I'd be making 3 times the money that I was making. I was in hog heaven.
I bet so.
And now they make $20 at McDonald's. Crazy. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So they give me this man's name, and he said, this is the foreman, Mr. Johnson. You're to report to him, and they told me where to go. Well, I'm lost. I've never been in a train yard in my life. So I'm going up to these brakemen. I said, I got to report to this guy. And they all look at me like, oh, man, you're kidding me. And that had me so scared to death. It was not funny. And I had just gotten out of the military.
Everything you do in the rail yard is important.
Oh, yeah. Well, what we were doing is we were maintaining the train yard so that they can switch back and forth smoothly.
From one track to another, or car to another,
both.
Engine to another, or just
Both.
whatever?
All of it.
Okay.
It's traffic. They're switching cars back and forth.
Right.
They're bringing locomotives in, breaking locomotives out, attaching locomotives to sections of cars, and moving them from track
Busy
to
place.
track to track. Yeah, it's kind of like Tetris.
You were in the Crossroads of America, Indiana.
Crossroads of America.
What town were you in?
I lived in southern part of Indianapolis.
The yard that you worked in was in Indianapolis.
Yes, it was. It's called Moorfield Yard, non-existent anymore. Instead of east and west, they decided to go north and south. It was a political move that turned out very good for them.
Well, of course,
there's a lot of interstate east to west.
And most of the trains that we see that are paralleling the east-west.
Yeah.
Like the Union Pacific and the
Burlington Northern Santa Fe.
Yes.
That's the one I retired from.
They run along the southern half of the country.
Yeah.
So B&O did a north-south route.
North-south.
A connection.
They went from Chicago, Maine, all the way down to Florida and into the Gulf. So they went to Florida, but they also went in the Gulf, and they moved their headquarters down to Jacksonville. They did very well.
Was most of the traffic, we'll say, most of the trains, were y'all guys delivering to another distribution type place, or were you delivering to the business?
Yes, all of it. They took raw materials to factories. They took finished products like lumber to the mills and to Georgia Pacific. The finished product, plywood, 2x4s for building and construction. It's a vast industry. If you shut the railroad down, you shut America down. Right? It's
we have problems.
Done. It's worse than what's going on at the docks. Another thing, like with our railroad, with the BNSF, if we don't keep on hand supply of 3 days of coal at Houston, the National Guard comes in and takes over until that supply is met.
This nation can't afford for it to stop. We are in a crisis right now. The 18-wheelers are flowing. The trains are longer. They're double stacked.
First of all, in order to make the trains longer, they had to make the metal that holds the trains together, the couplers, the draft gears, and other things stronger, much stronger, and more ductility. In other words, they can stretch and flex better and not be so brittle. Plus, they've learned that if they put locomotives in the front and they put locomotives in the back, and they're both paralleled, it keeps the stress off the center. So
that always gets me.
Pull a train
seeing
apart.
2 or 3 engines in the back pushing.
Yeah.
Going uphill, downhill. I mean, I know they don't do big hills, but I mean, there's still a grade sometime, a little incline or decline.
Yeah.
They're synced pretty good. I'm sure it's computers, obviously, but I mean...
Well, it's not only that, it's the talent of the engineer. They learn how to handle the traffic.
What feels right, what is right.
Are they the highest paid worker?
Engineer?
Yes. As far as the people that are on the lines.
As far as the field is concerned.
That's what I meant.
Pretty high paid because they make the company a lot of money.
And they can cost the company a lot of money.
Oh, million. Some of them are an engineer for a while. Next thing you know, they're a train master or a superintendent, and they climb the ladder. Yes. A lot of them they like what they're doing.
They like what
they're
they do.
happy.
It's funny that you were talking about the improvements of the structure of the trains.
Yeah.
Because as we were driving down the road the other day, I was thinking, this is the same technology from Promontory Point. There hasn't been a lot of change in the engines, but that's not really true. The looks are very similar. What we're looking
under
at.
the hood, there's a lot going on.
Oh, yeah. Well, one of my jobs that I had was at Amtrak at their biggest back shop, which is in Beech Grove, Indiana. I was a machinist at that time. They bring the locomotives in all in bad shape, and we would tear them completely apart, send all the parts out to different groups that specialized in, like if we would take the engine out, and we'd send it over to one department that was specialized in the engine, and they would tear the engine down, rebuild it, and put it back together. And then when they got done, what I did, we were called ramp rats. We would put it back together, and we would calibrate it, and then we would send it off to the paint shop. And it was a fun job.
How long did that take? Is that like a month or 2 weeks? Or
We put out
4 days?
54 rebuilt locomotives a year. That's a lot.
So average one a week.
Yeah.
And if you want to go back and watch our Nugget with our friend Dave Clifford, who is a machinist on the Cog Railway, you'll want to do that because that was an interesting nugget. Did you watch those nuggets?
You know,
Interesting
sometimes
stuff.
I get to them, sometimes I can't, but some of them are, I'm thinking, some of them are very serious and some of them are hilarious.
Well, we try to make
to have a
variety.
little bit of a variety.
Back to you, though, and your position. So you've mentioned that you started at B&O.
Yeah.
And then where did you go next? Because you've mentioned Amtrak
Well,
and...
they had 3 mergers.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay,
You didn't
so-
leave. They joined up.
The B&O merged with the Chesapeake in Ohio and the Western Maryland to become the Chessie system. And the Chessie system emblem is a cat laying on a pillow.
Wow, I don't think I've ever seen that.
And the Chessie is the name of the cat, which was the CEO's daughter's cat.
That's funny.
Just a bit of
But the
trivia.
idea, it was easy. We are easy to get along with. We're easy on your commodities. We're easy, like a cat sleeping on a pillow. That was the first merger. The Chessie system merged with the family lines and became the CSX Corporation.
Okay, seen CXX.
CSX,
People
or
familiar with that,
CSXT. A lot of people like CSXT. That happened. In all that mix, I got laid off. Had a hard time finding a job. Eventually, I did. My old boss, man, I want you to come to work. He says, you're a hard worker. We need you. So I went to him. I worked for him for about a year. And that was in Dayton, Ohio. Amtrak called me back, and I'm thinking, I was driving 105 miles a day, one way.
Get on Amtrak, that would be about 6 minutes.
They were expensive.
Man, those guys are fast, aren't they?
Oh, my, yeah. And they're going to get faster.
That's crazy.
We rode an Amtrak from Milwaukee to Chicago, and that was one of the most fun things we've ever done.
When you work for Amtrak, if you take a coach seat, you don't pay.
That's nice.
But if you get a room, all you have to do is pay for the room.
That
Nice
worked.
benefit.
We lived in Indiana. My wife's family lived here in Texas. We took the train every year,
Nice.
sometimes twice a year. We had a blast. Get in the coach car. They've got a window that goes from your knees all the way up and then halfway across the ceiling, and you can sit in a sofa that faces the window, and you could just watch things go by. It's beautiful. It's fun. I love it.
Yeah,
It's
that's
exciting.
exciting.
Yeah. I worked on the B&O, I worked on the Chessie, I worked on the CSX Corporation, that's one railroad. Then I worked for Amtrak twice. One as a carman, love that job. That was a fantastic job.
As a what?
As a carman.
What's a Carmen?
That was my main craft. A carman is a person that maintains, inspects, repairs freight cars. Train comes in, we go out. When they break the air off, you have to bleed the air so that the cars can be switched. And you go in, and while you're bleeding them off, you're inspecting them for damage. It could be anything light, a minor change. If it's a minor defect or something wrong, you try to fix it yourself. If you can't fix it yourself and it's enough that you think somebody's going to get hurt, you have the car pulled out of the train and put on a repair track.
And just the cost of the train being down.
Yeah.
But
and
speaking of train being down, I think we need to lock down right now and pick back up in our next nugget. Does that sound good with you guys?
Okie dokie.
All right.
We'll chug back on
Good here.
in our next nugget. Hope you are enjoying our nuggets, and be sure to check out all of our social media channels. You can find us on Brighteon. We're the Insatiable Travelers. You can follow us on Facebook at A Creation Seminar and on YouTube, Steve Groman. If you appreciate these videos and can partner with us on a monthly or one-time basis, that would be fantastic. The links are in the description below. Thank you.